time for our monthly update on Cybertruck production, which of course is always a moving target. In terms of timelines as to when Cybertruck deliveries will officially begin, Elon Musk briefly talked about it on the last Tesla earnings call, because of course every earnings call someone's got to sneak in the question, when is the Cybertruck gonna be ready? The truth is, I don't think anyone truly knows. It's gonna be up to how many raw materials Tesla can secure, how smoothly the ramp up can go for a brand new vehicle like this with a rigid exoskeleton. They've also never mass produced a vehicle with rear-wheel steering, a battery pack this large, or Tesla armored glass before, so there's a lot of unknown unknowns. But Elon doubled down saying that they expect Cybertruck deliveries to begin in summer of 2023, so I wouldn't put too much weight in that timeline, especially considering we haven't had the 9,000-ton Gigapress installed at Giga Texas yet. But I thought in today's update we could dive into why I wouldn't put too much faith in Elon's timelines on this particular subject. But I'm also not the kind of guy that thinks the Cybertruck will never exist or that it's vaporware. There's a lot of people out there that are just convinced it's never going to happen, but there's actually a lot of moving pieces and contracts Tesla is currently signing and actions they're taking that prove they have intentions on bringing the Cybertruck to market. It's not just a marketing gimmick. But to understand why they're doing what they're doing, you have to understand what the Cybertruck itself requires. So for one, it is the largest vehicle that Tesla has ever built, not counting the Tesla Semi because that's not out yet, but the Cybertruck is also not going to be insanely light. Yes, it may be lighter than its ultra-heavy competitors like the Rivian R1T or the F-150 Lightning. It might undercut them a little bit, but still. It's a quad-motor powertrain with rear-wheel steering, adaptive air suspension. Of course, all of these crazy specs that Elon keeps saying is why the Cybertruck will be their greatest product, but in order to get a large, big vehicle like the Cybertruck to go over 300 miles, or some of you don't believe me on the idea that Tesla will compromise on the range of the Cybertruck to focus on scalability. But okay, let's say you're right and Tesla doesn't want to compromise on range. If they want that thing to go 500 miles on a charge, it will take at minimum 180 kilowatt hours per truck. And if my theory is correct and they settle with around 300 miles of range, it would still be somewhere in the ballpark of 120, 130 kilowatt hours per vehicle. And batteries are the primary limiting factor with most EV adoption. But as we've already seen, Tesla has had the Model S and X in production for over a year now, and they're still not at their target run rate of about 100,000 vehicles per year. In the last quarter, they delivered just over 16,000 Model S's and X's, all of which are requiring 100 kilowatt hour battery packs, and they're using pre-existing assembly lines because the refresh Model S and X are still using 1865 battery cells, which means that they didn't have to start battery production, from the ground up to update these vehicles. And it's been over a year, they're still at a run rate of close to 60 or 70,000 per year. Now keep in mind, the Cybertruck, whether it's 300 or 500 miles of range, is going to require even more energy capacity than the Model S and X will, and it's hard to argue that the Model S and X are more complex than the Cybertruck. Yeah, it doesn't have a paint shop to worry about, but it does have more motors, it does have different glass, it has different interior components, all of which they're starting from scratch from. 4680 batteries are just starting to hit the market now, and they have not been around as long as the 1865 cells that are used in the Model S and X. And yet at Tesla Battery Day, Elon said that they hope to eventually get the Cybertruck at a run rate of 200,000 to 250,000 trucks per year, which sounds logical considering the F-150 sells at nearly 1 million units per year. Pickup trucks sell at incredibly high volume, so you would expect if Tesla wants to make a serious dent in electric pickup truck sales, they would want to scale up production a lot. But what I think they've started to realize is that because pickup trucks are so high in demand and people want to use them for more things, it's not just driving around town, it's road tripping and it's towing, and of course that cuts your range in half. So regardless of what range they want to prioritize, the Cybertruck is going to need far more batteries than any other Tesla ramp in the past, and that's why I expect it to go much, much slower than any other electric vehicle in the past. So while Tesla can quickly ramp up the Model 3 or Model Y and get it up to 500,000 units per year within about 12 months of production, I don't expect that to be the same case with the Cybertruck, purely because of how many batteries it requires. However, Tesla is actually taking some action on this. So because they kind of finished the main area for Gigafactory Texas, they spelled Tesla on the top with solar panels, a lot of people have stopped paying attention to Jeff Roberts and Joe Tegmeyer's coverage of the facility, which I think is a big shame because you're probably missing the point that they've actually started building a whole different facility right next to Gigafactory Gigafactory Texas, specifically for cathode production, which, in case you didn't know, cathode is a very important and very crucial part of every single cell that Tesla puts into their vehicles, and the whole concept of them building a cathode refinement facility right next to Gigafactory Texas is to reduce the amount of time it takes to get raw materials to the battery manufacturing plants, which currently, between Fremont and Giga Nevada, there's a lot of miles that have to be driven there, and it's a more dated process at Fremont because 4680 batteries are using this new dry electrode process to manufacturing, which should simplify things and hopefully accelerate production, but they already have started building 4680 batteries at Giga Texas locally, but once this whole cathode facility is up and running, that should enable them to ramp up battery production to a more extreme scale. But they're not stopping there. Just like Tesla always doubles down on this, they are not intending on just building all of their own batteries and saying goodbye to their existing suppliers. In fact, they are continuing to increase orders from their current suppliers like Panasonic, who recently announced this month that they are building a multi-billion-dollar battery plant in Kansas, which is going to be directly supplying cells to Gigafactory Texas, and they have disclosed that these will be the next generation high energy density 4680 batteries. So those cells that Panasonic is probably not going to be building until 2024 or maybe later are directly being built in central United States so that they could be easily transported to the Gigafactory in Texas. And if all they were planning at that factory was 500,000 Model Ys a year, and they're already using 2170 cells for many of these Model Ys, Tesla would not need to be securing these contracts or building these additional facilities just to build more Model Ys, because the current assembly line and paint shop and the stamping presses and everything really only get the factory up to around 500,000 vehicles per year. The reason they're making all of these moves with these additional battery plants and cathode facilities is because they know the Cybertruck is going to be such a heavily demanded vehicle, and every single one of those trucks is going to need a battery pack way bigger than that of the Model S or X, especially if you eventually believe that Tesla will make a 400 or 500 mile range Cybertruck. I think that could easily be 5 years away, and I know that 300 miles is not enough range for you guys trying to do cross-country towing. I understand that. It gets brought up every single video, and I keep trying to double down on this. Ford and Rivian have already proven that there is plenty of demand for pickup trucks with 300 or less miles of range. It's not that your first pickup truck you ever build out of your factory has to replace every single pickup truck on the road. That's not what the Cybertruck is going to be, but I think even a $100,000 truck with a 300 mile range is still going to sell incredibly well, especially if you consider that Tesla garnished like 2 million reservations for this thing. Yeah, there's no way they're going to be able to honor the pricing on all of those reservations, because Tesla does not like locking in prices for multi-year backlogs. They prefer backlogs to be under a year, and if they start growing further than a year, they're more interested in just turning off orders entirely. So just do some basic math there. Even if 90% of people with a Cybertruck reservation cancel, that's still 200,000 orders, and based on how slowly the ramp has gone for the Model S and X, which are reusing pre-existing battery lines, the Cybertruck ramp is going to require bigger batteries, newer batteries, as well as new manufacturing approaches which have never been done before. So that's why I think in the first year of Cybertruck production, they're likely only going to be able to build maybe 30,000, 40,000 units, and maybe the year after they can scale that up to 80,000, 90,000. So you see my point. Even with 90% of the reservations being canceled, there would still be like a 2, 3, or 4 year backlog before they were able to deliver on all of those trucks. So I don't think Tesla cares about the potential EV tax credit. So all that tax credit really does is increase demand further for their product. So I'm just hoping none of you guys get excited that, oh, maybe Tesla has to price the Cybertruck under $80,000 in order to qualify for that $7,500 tax credit. The only reason they would do that is if they didn't think there was enough demand for the truck. They know for a fact there is way too much demand for their truck, and now they have to kind of get a bunch of people to cancel, otherwise they're going to have a 4 or 5 year backlog, which is not a good place to be in for service, for replacement parts, and for scalpers who love to just take the vehicle and flip it and profit greatly off of taking delivery of their truck, and that just creates this pointless middleman, and you have the whole PlayStation 5 situation going down. So don't expect Tesla to try to get the Cybertruck under $80,000 just for that tax credit. I think because of how high demand is for all electric pickup trucks, especially the Cybertruck, they're going to probably have the price well over 6 figures, and to prioritize how quickly they can ramp up production, I'm fairly convinced that they're going to settle with like a 300-mile range and just say that, sorry, if you want to do cross-country towing, you're just gonna have to keep driving a diesel truck, because it's just so much more logical from a manufacturing point of view to deliver the vehicles that you can ramp up faster with, rather than start with lower volume 180 to 200 kilowatt hour Cybertrucks with 500 miles of range. Because if the battery packs is that large, that's going to severely diminish how many trucks they can build per year, and that means the price is going to go way up. So I guess that's part of the upside of my pessimistic view of the Cybertruck. You should look at it as, hey, if they tried to make a 500 mile range Cybertruck, it would likely be like $150,000, $180,000, because they could get away with that. There'd be enough people to buy it. And the fact that they're probably going to settle for a 300 mile range means that it'll likely be a $105,000 or $110,000 truck, which is, slightly more affordable. But I still think while we need to be patient on this, and it's not necessarily coming next year, Tesla is taking action. They are signing contracts and literally building structures so that they can scale up battery production further than just the Model Y at Giga Texas. And every earnings call, they keep doubling down on, after the Model Y ramp, Cybertruck is next. And hopefully some of that powertrain machinery coming from Germany we talked about in our last Cybertruck production updates video is now being installed, because Jeff Roberts also noticed the Cybertruck section of the factory getting a lot of semi-truck deliveries. So that could be a lot of the robotics that's dedicated to the Cybertruck line. So please be patient. It will come. It's just a matter of time. It gives all of you a better opportunity to save up your money for this very expensive but very capable pickup truck. And thanks again to everyone on Patreon supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.